DonInLondon, hello. It's December the 2nd. My videos all about recovery from addiction to either substances or behaviour. My substance, alcohol, so alcoholic in recovery, and behaviour, which could be around people, places and things, trying to be perfect, collecting, looking for the next best thing, actually looking for the next best fix, because I thought my way through my problems into my thinking solutions. And these days I've learned that recovery from addiction is really about emotional and spiritual well-being. So for me, emotional well-being is knowing how I feel today, and the spiritual part is simply being able to connect to reality the best I can. So what helps me keep sober a day at a time, or help me get to be sober a day at a time? Well, family, friends, community, society all played their part in my recovery, and also a fellowship called AA, Alcoholics Anonymous. I speak a lot about AA and the fellowship. I also recognise it's full of unique, authentic people who speak about their recovery where they will. And the best place to find out about recovery, I have found over the years, is in fellowship and going to meetings of the fellowship, where people talk about what's happening on a daily basis, their experience, strength and hope of now. And whilst everybody's unique and authentic, nobody speaks for the fellowship of AA. It doesn't need to be promoted as such, but maybe some knowledge and information might be helpful, which is why I do these videos and share a daily reflection from the literature. So what you see is what you get when it comes to AA, not me. What you see is what you get in meetings. And my sharing, if you like, is designed for people who are in recovery and just want to connect with some of the literature, and for people wanting information. So what is AA? I share the AA preamble here and then move on to the daily reflection. So, AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is the desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. What an order that was. How to be sober one day at a time. And in the past, if you'd asked me, could I live my life without drink, I hadn't even considered living life without a drink. So in my early days, what I found was I was going somewhere to a fellowship which suggested it was better to live without alcohol, and that goes for all the other fellowships for all the different substances. It's like the opposite of what we want to do. So in early days it's very difficult to get a hold of what could it be like to be sober, because it's really painful emotionally and spiritually as well as physically. And the suggestion is often to take 90 meetings in 90 days. It's a bit of a medicine, if you like, to deal with our feelings and our connection to reality, because for me at least I'd lost all connection with reality and I had no clue what my feelings were at all, other than depression, which just is a blackness and fear of living, and life would be better ended. So these days it's better to be alive and face my feelings and reality, or rather live my feelings and live reality. The Daily Reflections book, this one, it covers the 12 steps, suggestions for open, honest, willing living, and the 12 traditions, which are all about unity, service and recovery in the fellowship. And what I've learned is if I try and lean on one person too hard to stay sober, if I lean on them, either they fall over or I fall over with them, or both of us go down the plug hole. And the greatest good is done by the greatest number. That's meetings of AA, where what you see is what you get, rather than promoting an idea of being fixed. because these days we're not looking to be fixed or think our way out of things. We just feel right about where we are, and when we're not too sure about what to do, we have a fellowship behind us, and that is people we can call. And I also know that for every number I have in my telephone, if I've got 100 numbers, maybe 1 in 10 of those people might be available to talk. So we don't always get what we want in the moment. Sometimes we have to be a bit patient, or a very patiently waiting. And active as well, because it's all about taking action, but not one action to take a drink. And these days it's become second nature, but it took a while to stick. So, what is step 12? This is the 12th month, 12th step. This book covered 1 step a month and 1 tradition a month. So step 12 reads as this: having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we try to carry this message to alcoholics, and to practice these principles in all our affairs. So it's putting into practice what we learn, the wisdom we learn. And in this book it talks about about Serenity for December the 2nd, contingent on our spiritual condition. So it reads like this: having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps. As I continued to go to meetings and work the steps, something began to happen to me. I felt confused because I wasn't sure what it was that I was feeling. And then I realized I was experiencing serenity. It was a good feeling, but where had it come from? Then I realized it had come as the result of these steps, 12 steps, practicing in action. The program may not always be easy to practice, but I had to acknowledge that my serenity had come to me after working the steps. As I work the steps in everything I do, practicing these principles in all my affairs, I find that I am awake to God, or simply good conscience, depending on your belief system, to others and to myself. The spiritual awakening I have enjoyed as the result of working the steps is the awareness that I am no longer alone. And that's so true for me, because I was alone for a long time, in my head, trying to think my way out of whatever particular conundrum I was in. And on my own, isolated, a drink in hand, I could fix the world. But when I went out of my front door, or off my park bench in the end, reality was very difficult to comprehend at all. So the transformation from being in a difficult problem, not able to fix myself, to living in the solution, knowing how I feel on a daily basis, and having conscious contact with reality. You know, if anybody asks, is spiritual a bit spooky? The answer is no, not for me. It's just simply being able to cope with reality, to be in the present moment, as so many people talk about in spiritual language. It's not religious. Everybody has a faith of their own, to believe in or not to believe in, or not to know, and or be able to not be able to define something. So there's much I don't know about life, and the more I get to know, the less I feel I know. That's the conundrum of living, because every day is different, and every situation is different. But if we try and play it over and over the same way, we don't get anywhere. And these days it's better to look at what is and what is possible. So what helps me when I want to do that, and I'm not sure, the Serenity prayer to God, or good conscience as you come to believe, or is right for you, not for me, what is right for you. That Serenity prayer works any moment, and it goes like this: God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference, for me, is just for today.